Hi punters, thank you very much for dropping in. It's the TNT program live on a Saturday morning, and I appreciate those people that are already here. We'll have, I'm sure, during the program, as happens with these live chats, other people dropping in. And so the piece of video that sort of inclined me to make this program, it only goes for about 20 seconds, so I'll probably end up playing it 3 or 4 times because people will be coming into the program 3 or 4 times during the show. So I'm going to show you up front the little piece of video that I saw from an Instagrammer called I'm Paul Lee. Now, I don't know anything about this person, never seen him before. He's running some sort of digital nomad thingy. I don't know anything about his business. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I'm simply interested in the fact that what he said in this particular little short post, I found quite interesting, and it made me think about the way we look at countries and first world, second world, third world. A lot of these terms, I think, really these days are outdated. And I think these days there's much more of a meshing of the different cultures. Things like the internet have changed everything. And we had the Industrial Revolution, and now we've got this internet revolution. And it's very, very profound for the people that are living at the moment. And I'm sure history will look back at this time as a time of great upheaval. And if you've sort of been, well, dislocated by the changes that have happened over the last 20 or 30 years, I think there's a lot more to come. So brace, brace, brace. Good morning to all the people that have joined us. A big thank you to Guzzy Jack, who's kicked things off very, very nicely indeed with a kind and generous super chat. So that really is appreciated, Guzzy Jack, and thank you very much. Best wishes for the holidays to you. Now it is, we're coming to the silly season. During, I call it the silly season, it's pretty much the days before Christmas Day, which is particularly silly, and then that week up to New Year and a few days beyond. In Thailand, for purposes of road safety, they call it the 7 days of danger. But I'm just going to call it the silly season. But we do have Christmas coming up. When is Christmas? What's today? The 21st? Today's Sunday, be the 22nd. It'll be the Wednesday. So, yes, Christmas is upon us, and I've got 5 or 6 people coming. I'm not exactly sure the number yet, coming around for lunch. But here we go. I'm going to play this bit of video. Now, it starts like almost instantaneously. So get yourself ready, and we'll just roll this piece of video.
Third world.
And we'll just do that once again.
People are finally realizing that these third world countries are actually not that third world. For example, I'm in Thailand right now. And it's so ironic because people from the first world countries think that these countries are unsafe, dangerous, dirty, extremely poor, non-modernized, non-developed. Those descriptions are of the first world nowadays. For example, I could leave my bag here, I could leave it for literally 24 hours, come back tomorrow. It'd either still be there or the security guard would hand it to me. 10 minutes in America, it would probably be gone. I think there is a huge shift happening right now where people are moving to third world countries, and that these countries actually look more developed and are cleaner and safer, and realizing how much of a better life it is out here. I moved here to Bangkok, Thailand 4 years ago, and it was absolutely the best decision I've ever made. If you want to learn how I did it and how I make money remotely, then comment the word relocate and I'll show you exactly how. People are finally realizing that these third world countries are actually not that third world. For example,
I really don't know anything about the guy, just shut him up there. So I don't want to talk about him. Some people have already said, but I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about his commentary, because I found it very interesting. And it made me really sort of think about the way that we pigeonhole things automatically. I'll give you an example. Now, as some of you who've been with us for a while know, I went to Kazakhstan I gave myself a holiday. I said, okay, I need a week off. And this is about 3 months ago. And I'm down at the airport every now and then, and I have a little place, a cafe that I enjoy waiting. And I watch the airplanes. It's the only cafe that actually looks out over the runway. I did have some videos I shot the other day. Oh, I haven't loaded them up, so there you go. Lucky you. And I promised myself, this is the way that I chose where I was going to go for my holiday. Wherever the next plane arrives from, that's where I'm going. And it was an Air Astana plane, which is an airline in Kazakhstan. So I went and booked a holiday in Kazakhstan. I went to the capital, no, it's not the capital city, it's the largest city called Almaty. Now, you see, I thought in my mind, when I thought of Kazakhstan, I was thinking of old ladies, fur hats, and horses. That's what I was thinking. But when I went there, I was totally blown away. I was totally surprised by this thoroughly modern city. Not even slightly third world. I didn't see really any clear or obvious signs of poverty. It had a very modern fleet of cars. I estimated, I think at the time, I said there was about a third of the cars on the road were electric cars. They had this network of scooters that you could pick up. You tap your phone on the scooter on any corner in the city, like any corner, and you jump on one of these scooters, go where you need to go, tap when you get off, and go about your way. And they had all these scooter lanes alongside the footpaths all around the city, tree-lined avenues and boulevards, not just a couple, but hundreds of tree-lined streets and boulevards. I mean, it really was a total surprise, a very pleasant surprise. So it made me think of all these places in the world that we've grown up and we've been educated to think of them as poor or substandard or developing, which I think is a bit of a rude term, really, but it's a term that a lot of people use. So today we're talking about the third world, the first world, the second world, if there is one, even a fourth world, as somebody who made comments about. So I'm going to get to some of the comments people made when I put the original post up in just a moment. And of course, I've got all the comments coming from you live in the comment section today, and they're all appreciated. So, and I'm sure some people will be quite critical of what he had to say, and we will play it 3 or 4 times during the program as people join us, and also just to sort of remind us and focus us. Again, I don't care about the man. I don't want to know about his Instagram channel. I don't care what he's selling. I've actually sent him a message telling him I was doing this today and asking him if I could have a quick chat with him on the program, but he hasn't responded. So I don't know the man at all. I'm not promoting or endorsing whatever he's selling. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the topic. So let's go to a few definitions, and I start with this one. And this is from a website called Corporate Finance Institute. Again, I don't know much about them, but it seemed to have a fairly rounded version of what the term first world is. Countries that are highly industrialized and with advanced economies. And the modern definition of first world is used to classify countries that are highly industrialized with advanced economies. First world countries include the US, Canada, Japan, Western European countries. And there you've got the map, and the map pretty much sort of says it all as far as their definition. So Australia and New Zealand included in what they are describing as first world countries. And green is second world countries. From what I can see, it pretty much covers what we are describing these days as, I suppose, communist governments. Everything from Vietnam and Laos right down there in Southeast Asia. Then you've got China and it used to be the USSR. Now parts of it are called Russia. But I noted also that the place I went, which is sort of right there in the middle, Kazakhstan, is also still listed as what they're calling a second world country. Now, let me tell you, what I saw, and I didn't see much of the country, I only saw this largest city called Almaty. It was anything but third world or any other world. It was just absolutely first world. And then, of course, the top of the tree, you've got these countries in pink which are describing themselves as first world countries. Canada, USA, the UK, Europe. I suppose I've got to refer to them separately these days. And places in the Middle East are not really included these days, even though you can go to some of the Middle Eastern countries, like the Emirates, for example, and you've got capitals like Dubai. I mean, thoroughly modern places that have just popped up over the last 20 or 30 years and amaze anybody that goes there. So I think there is much more of a blurring since these terms were originally come up with. Let's go on more. The modern definition of first world is used to classify countries that are highly industrialised. We've already done that one. Common metrics used to identify countries that are part of the first world include the Human Development Index, GDP per capita, literacy rate, and life expectancy. And Daisy chiming in with her thoughts. And the historical definition of first world is used to classify countries that are aligned themselves with NATO. Okay, well, there's a few different definitions there. And here's a historical definition. Initially arose during the Cold War and was used to define countries that are aligned themselves with NATO. Countries that are aligned with the opposition, also known as the Warsaw Pact, were called the Second World. And as I said, it looks like to me on the map, they're countries that are largely still sort of communist governments. Countries that did not adhere to a faction were part of the Third World. And the term First World is used to describe countries that are industrial. Blah, blah, blah. Some characteristics. Here we go. The third paragraph I found interesting here. The term First World is considered slightly outdated and has no official definition. So I'm sure a lot of people will be chiming in with their opinions on what they think First World, Second World, Third World means. But I think this is right, that a lot of those definitions are outdated and there is no official definition. Now, some say the term is racist and colonialist, and that it implies a hierarchy where some countries are first and others are behind. Others say the term is out of date because it's a relic of the Cold War and that the Soviet Union no longer exists. I'm sort of in line personally with that third paragraph. I think the term is very outdated, and anybody that sort of starts to point to different countries and say first world or third world, they either haven't been to any of those other countries or they really still got their head back in the 1950s and 60s and really sort of don't understand all the changes that have happened. Ignorant people like me who went to Kazakhstan and thought everybody was going to be riding around on horses. So it's great, I think, to travel is the great equaliser, and it opens your eyes and you go, okay, all those things I thought about are wrong. I remember when I was younger, there's a story connected to this, but I'll sort of cut to the chase. But it was a friend of mine when I was going to boarding school that came home with me one weekend. I was allowed to go back to my home about 3 times a term. Once a term? 3 times a year. Yeah, I think it was once a term. My mother said, bring one of your friends with you. And so I did. I brought one of my friends from the boarding school with me, and I remember when he got out of the car, and my mother, who was dressed like Hyacinth Bouquet, standing in the front of the house with the twin set and pearls and accompanying apron, because she'd been cooking all day, and just sort of her face went, I don't think she'd ever actually come face to face with a person from an Asian country. And she said, hello, my name Marjorie, and what your name? He said, my name's Roger, I'm from Bendigo. He had a broad Australian accent. His family had been in Australia for 3 or 4 generations. His accent was broader than mine. But suddenly my mother realised what a dill she was, and that things, well, have changed. And she used to sort of describe Asia as everywhere to the north of Australia. And she said, oh, some of the people are very nice, which is her way of saying, I have no idea about anything in Asia. Given that, though, they used to travel quite frequently, my parents, and often through Singapore. And she'd always loved shopping and bargaining in the days where Singapore was a little bit more, well, Asian. And she used to be a very hard bargainer. So, yeah, any people from Singapore in their, I don't know, they'd sort of be in their later years now, would probably remember this hard-ass woman bargaining them down to the very, very last cent. She was a hard, tough bargainer. Me and my father are quite the opposite. If I go to a market and they say, oh, 300 baht, I go, oh, okay, and just hand over 300 baht. So anyway, let's move on and get into more of these definitions and commentary. No, let's go back to your comments, I think, at this stage. Then I'll play that clip again and we'll keep on talking about your impressions of third, first, second world countries. And the idea here is not to try and say this country is first world, that country's third world. I don't really care. What I suppose I'm trying to say is that a country like Thailand, which has been pigeonholed as a third world country for as long as I can remember, I think people when they come here are very surprised. And I'm also going to be interested to know what you consider as metrics for basing a country as developed or not. I've made my little list, which I'll share with you in a moment. But a regular viewer, John Armstrong, hello John, and best wishes to you and your family. John's got a comment. The map that you showed still shows the original definition of first, second and third world, Western communist non-aligned. At some point it morphed into economic status. First, third, no second. Okay, again, that's an interesting view of the situation. I really think that the terms first, second, third world country are just completely irrelevant today. And if somebody uses them, I sort of go, oh, well, you know, whatever. But I don't take their comments seriously because I just don't think there is any such thing. I think you can go to a place like Thailand, walk down parts of Bangkok and consider it as first world as any other Western country. But you can get out into the back blocks of Isan, and it can be very, very rural and appear very, very poor. Guarantee, though, that they've got fast internet, they eat 3 fresh meals a day, and that they're generally much happier than people in the West. And I think some of those metrics are things we should consider when considering the value of a country. I think there's far too much emphasis put on economics these days. All right, let's... I'm sure there's going to be plenty of comments about my mother. And my mother was, if you've never seen the program, you Google keeping up appearances. My mother was Hyacinth Bouquet. An Australian version, a New Zealand version. She never became an Australian citizen, but she was basically Australian the way she sort of behaved. Yes, she was Hyacinth Bouquet. We used to have the vic around for Sunday morning tea and everything. Ah dear. Here I am. I somehow survived. Okay, good morning to all from Dam 1 from a sunny Jomtien, averaging 32 degrees this week. I'll show you what it's like here today in a moment too. Gail Foz. Gail visited us during the week with her husband, who was very sunburnt, and they spent 2 days here. I think they spent more time with Daisy, my dog, than anything else, and they gave her a toy, which is like a squid, and Daisy is just in love with this squid. So thank you, Gail. Thank you very much for coming. What does Gail have to say? Good morning from Pattaya on vacation. Escaped the windy city's cold and snowy weather. I think it's quite cold in Chicago. I'm sure Scott will chime in. Anthony Orm says, it then changed. Oh, he must have said something earlier. No. Comment, Thailand is still developing in terms of its infrastructure. For example, road and rail links, especially the latter. Improvements in communication as fibre needs rolled out all over Thailand. Let me say, when it comes to internet, I don't think I've been to any other country in the world which has as reliable, widespread and inexpensive internet. I mean, I pay about 400 baht a month for 500 bytes or whatever it's called, 500 million, 500 MPS, I think it's called. Anyway, it's a very, very fast internet, and there's no cap on it, and it's about 400 baht a month. I mean, I think that's very, very cheap. Mind you, I have to get it for all the beach houses. But Anthony continues, it's a quiet place and low cost of living. As it develops, the cost of living will go up. Bring in the NIMBYs, not in my backyard, and pushing out the low earners. Guzzy Jack, good Friday evening all. Have a great vacation. Scarface, good morning from Nonthaburi. Tim Watch is on the Sabai time. Okay. A question from Anthony. Where does Tim's arm end? Oh, and the cushion begin. I said, okay, I'll change the cushion over. Here we go. We'll get something else. Go for that. There we go. A bit of colour. Splash of colour so you can't get confused. Now you know where my arm finishes. Hi, Tim. Do I need to take visa from India if I travel to Thailand on the 30th of December? At the moment, you can arrive from India if you're Indian nationality, and you can arrive and get 60 days without a visa. So you will be able to stay here for 60 days without pre-application for a visa, and you can also extend that for another 30 days at an immigration office in Thailand for the cost of 1,900 baht. That situation is continuing. There's no discussion about it finishing. Hey, first time listening live as I'm in Thailand now. Hi, Timothy, says Tony Hedges. Hi, Tony, and welcome to the program. We do this every Saturday morning, by the way. I've got a few ideas for Saturday mornings in the future, which I'll go through. I'll probably forget by the time I get to the end of the program. Fat Man Overland. Really? LOL, he's showing his own ignorance. Now, no one I know thinks that Thailand is third world. Paul Cockley says, haha, America is fourth world. Okay, so yeah, I'll play that clip again because let's refocus on what we're talking about today. And the commenter, the Instagrammer, is that a verb, an Instagrammer? I suppose it is. He was saying that a lot of people are sort of saying that Thailand is third world, but Fat Man Overland saying, well, he's showing his own ignorance. I mean, Thailand's not third world. Again, I just really think we need to throw these terms away. Having said that, I'll see if I can get the system all sort of working here. Let's hit the go button. See if it's going to work. Do I have to do
Realizing that these third world
on? And it keeps on going off. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens.
People are finally realizing that these third world countries are actually not that third world. For example, I'm in Thailand right now. And it's so ironic because people from the first world countries think that these countries are unsafe, dangerous, dirty, extremely poor, non-modernized, non-developed. Those descriptions are of the first world nowadays. For example, I could leave my bag here. I could leave it for literally 24 hours, come back tomorrow. It'd either still be there or the security guard would hand it to me. 10 minutes in America, it would probably be gone. I think there is a huge shift happening right now where people are moving to third world countries and that these countries actually look more developed and are cleaner and safer, and realizing how much of a better life it is out here. I moved here to Bangkok, Thailand 4 years ago, and it was absolutely the best decision I've ever made. If you want to learn how I did it and how I make money remotely, then comment the word relocate.
Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We don't really need to hear about that. But good luck with I'm Paul Lee and his projects. I don't know really what he does. And as I said, I don't care what he does. I don't want to talk about that. Anthony, he keeps on chiming back. Both the guy in the video and yourself, when you went to Kazakhstan, often the cities look very developed. Yet if you go into the country, which my comments refer to, then it's more developing. Well, maybe that's the same situation just about anywhere in the world. Now, I've been very, very lucky in my life so far. I've had the opportunity to travel fairly widely. And I remember when I was travelling in the United States during the 1990s, some of the locations I went to were, well, to use the word developing is an understatement. But for example, I went down, spent quite a lot of time in Louisiana and New Orleans. Quite an amazing, cultural, varied, crazy city. But we were part of a group study exchange, and we went down further south into, I think they call it Cajun country. Now, those people were living very, very developing lifestyles indeed. Some of them could barely speak English or could barely speak the English that I may understand. I believe there is some sort of French heritage. I don't want to get into the full history of Cajun people. All I need to say is that the people living down there it was a very, very poor area indeed. I've been to parts of Australia which are equally extremely poor. So I think as soon as you move out of the cities in a lot of different countries in the world, people can be seen to be living poorer lives. But I suppose it's what's in those people's hearts rather than what's in those people's pockets, and what their health is like and what their relationship is with other people that is equally important. The metrics we tend to put on people is how much money they might have in their pocket. But I think there are other metrics that we need to apply to what is considered a good standard of living these days. Now, I did write some notes. You'll be glad to know. Here are the things that I think are maybe more important than some of the metrics used to decide whether a country is developing or not. Now, the one thing, and this has become to me the most important thing to achieve or to aim for in life, is a level of happiness. If you're not happy, no matter how much money you've got, no matter how much Bitcoin value you think you have, if you're not happy, if you're spending half your day on the phone worrying about what other people are doing and worrying about the news all the time, then you're just not going to be happy. So happiness and achieving happiness and having a government that is allowing you to live a happy life, I think is pretty important. And the older I get, I'm certainly getting a lot older, the more important happiness is and the achievement of happiness. And you can be happy with a lot of money or with a little bit of money. You can be perhaps even more happy with less money. I know a lot of rich people that are totally fucked up. General freedoms. I think a lot of people sort of tend to think that first world countries as such all have vibrant democracies. And it may be that as a country becomes more developed, the more sophisticated its democracy is. But I think recent elections in many different locations in the world over the past decade have shown that a lot of these democracies are quite fragile. So maybe democracy in itself, in a pure sense, is not really a metric. Now, here in Thailand, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of comments about this, I mean, I've been living either under a military dictatorship or a quasi-democracy for the past 13 years. And generally, I've thrived personally, both in terms of my pocket and in terms of my general well-being and my happiness, as have most Thais. So I think equating a country's value, being it first world, third world, second world, whatever you like, and democracy, putting those things in the same sentence are not necessarily always true. Now, if you're going to have military dictatorships and dictatorships generally, you better hope that the person running things is relatively benign and has their people uppermost in their mind, which is often not the case. A democracy is hard. Democracy is messy. But obviously it is something that is worth trying to achieve. Many countries do it in different ways. Thailand just happens to do it in their way, and it is an ongoing project. Opportunity. So I think, for example, in Thailand, people have quite a lot of opportunities. There's still quite a strong hierarchical system, but generally I think people in Thailand do have quite a lot of opportunity. They get free education, they get free health. These things are important. Access to fresh food, access to free healthcare, I think is a very important measure of a country's well-being. If the poorest person doesn't have access to the same healthcare that a rich person has, then I think the country has got problems. So access to fresh food, access to free healthcare, I think are both important metrics. Access to cheap and reliable internet, because it's the internet age. It's very important for just about everybody to have access to good, reliable internet these days. Yes, so they can access all the bad things on the internet, but of course it gives them access to all the good things, information and opportunities that arise from being on the internet. Another metric I thought was an important way of measuring a country's success these days is a growing middle class. I think the great success of many of the Asian economies at the moment, and this is sort of what we're calling the Asian century, is that this huge burgeoning middle class that's arising in many Asian countries. And I think we're also witnessing a stagnation of much of the middle class in Western countries at the same time. So I can't remember what the number is, but it was something like in the last 20 years, China, for example, has been able to put an extra 500 million people into what is called middle class, which, if nothing else, in China is one of the greatest changes, socio-economic changes in the past 100 years. Now, any country that can sort of put 500 million people into the middle class, I think is quite an accomplishment, along with all the negatives, and I know there are plenty of those as well. And also, I think another metric, these are just my thoughts, I'm sure you have yours, is a growing and expanding economy. So if your economy in a country seems to be sort of growing, well, that's good. You want it growing, but you also need it expanding. It's like when people invest and they put all their investment into one basket, like putting all their money into stocks and shares. If you do, make sure it's diverse. Putting a little bit of money into the bank, a bit of money into here, a bit of money into cryptocurrency, but not all your money in cryptocurrency. In the same way, I think a strong economy needs to be growing in several different directions in width and in height. So they're just my thoughts on metrics of what we should be looking for a successful country these days. And I'm trying to move on from using the terms first, second, third or fourth world. But even more important than my thoughts are your thoughts on the matter. So let's get on to them. Fat Man Overland. I actually like developing better than declining like most of the Western countries, says Fat Man Overland. We are certainly going through some sort of evolution. I think historically we'll be able to look back and be able to sort of put things into nice, neat boxes. At the moment, it just seems to be all rather confusing as to what's going on. Keith Morton. Hello, Keith. Good morning and Merry Christmas, Tim, from soon-to-be scorching Perth. Yes, a very hot time of the year for Perth and places like Adelaide and Melbourne as well. I've had many a Christmas dinner on days where it's been about 45 degrees. Asui ASSSSUIEEE. US and Australia don't have high-speed trains. US has bridges that are not maintained. Well, I think most of the bridges are very well maintained. They had a bridge that fell down but was hit by a ship from memory, if that's what you're referring to. Douglas R. Continuing, I missed the earlier part of your comment, I'm sorry. Thailand would definitely fit that are not aligned even today. That is the way I always understood it. Could be wrong. Nat341, I rate BKK as a developed city over where I am in Sydney any day, apart from the footpaths. Yes, I don't know what it is about Bangkok's footpaths, but poorly installed. I think that's a lot to do with it. Shifting sand, I don't know, but oof. Good morning, Tim, from Kanchanaburi, where 10,000 monks have arrived, went, and gave merit. They came, they saw, they gave merit. 10,000 monks. What, did they walk there? Would they come on buses? Fat Man Overland continues. Douglas R., you got it nailed. The terms are supposed to define American friends and disparage others. Well, maybe that's where the terms first, second, third world may have originated, and I do think that they're terms that are really perhaps overused in the past and extinct now. Bring back Steve with an E, says Paul Wallace. Steve and I are going to be doing a Christmas program. We won't be doing it on Christmas Day, but we are going to be doing a Christmas program. I've got phone calls coming in. I don't think I can take that right now. Would be a little bit rude, wouldn't it? First World is now 1984, says Flying Hedgehog, referring to the book, of course. Written by H.G. Wells. No, who wrote 1984? God, I should remember that. I read it 50 times. Funny story and love hyacinth reference. It's true. It's all true. Tim, have a glass of water. I've got a glass of water here. Thank you very much, Gunnar. Okay, getting into some of your other comments. Oh, by the way, thank you very much to Robbo in the Bay. Thank you very much for your super chat. Robbo's got a comment. Merry Christmas, Tim. My wife, who is from Bangkok, could not believe that I had no internet when I first knew her and travelled out to Birdsville. Oh my goodness, you took her to Birdsville? That's a bit of a scare. She thought I was ghosting her. Now she's in Australia. She understands. Birdsville, for anybody that's not familiar with Australia, is right off the beaten track out in pretty much the desert. And there's not much around Birdsville. Like nothing. Check out Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and you'll see Birdsville. Fat Man Overland. Someone rich in Thailand has access to the same as a poor person, but unless that is reversed, it's kind of meaningless. Fair comment. He continues, unless you are saying that private hospitals are the same experience as the free healthcare. Well, I mean, yeah, okay. The free healthcare that some Thais get may not be the same as like a private hospital in the United States. I get that. But I've been to plenty of the public hospitals in Thailand, and basically, as far as the medical care is concerned, I think it is equal. Now, some of the walls are painted with bright pink or blue paint, and they might have 4 or 5 people in the ward. Might be mum, dad, and a few others there visiting or even staying and sleeping next to the bed. I mean, some of those things appear third world to some people, but the actual standard of medical care in Thailand, I think, from first-hand experience, is very good. We've often told the story of a person living along the stretch of beach who had a... oh, God, what's the operation called? Turn your brain on, Tim. Steve, you're going to have to chime in. I forget the operation you had. But it was a sort of standard, simple operation, and it cost him 10,000 baht he paid in cash. It'll come to me in a moment. I'm sure people will chime in with exactly the operation he had. Spent 2 or 3 days in hospital. 10,000 baht he paid, out of his own pocket. So self-funding healthcare is something that foreigners can do here in Thailand. What's the damn operation called? Anyway, he'll come to me in a moment. Hobson's choice. I laughed when people said, why are you moving and trying to have a life in a third world country, Thailand? Some people really have no idea, do they? Hospitals and dentists here are top-notch and efficient. So this is interesting. Dentists are very, very good in Thailand. I think even more so than with healthcare. Healthcare can be quite a lot cheaper in some cases than in Western countries. Dentistry, I think, is very high quality and relatively low cost here in Thailand. Not going to recommend any particular dentist, but I've had some excellent and very inexpensive dental care here in Thailand. Wow, is Tim finally a believer in crypto? No, but I'm just saying that if you want to diversify where you're going to put your money, crypto is obviously something that you would consider these days. I'm certainly not recommending it. Other people would. People that have invested recently have done very, very well. Can give you a long, long list of people who lost a lot of money in crypto back a couple of years ago. It was November 2021 from memory. And guess what? It'll do that again sometime in the future. So it's not going to keep on going up. Good luck to you, though. Okay. Folks need to travel more and watch MS media less. MS. What's MS? Sorry, that's just vanished from my view. Have I got... here's another super chat. Mr. Ben's World. Hello, Mr. Ben's. Thank you very, very much for your kind thought and generosity to the program. Hey, Tim, get yourself a relaxing foot massage. It's tough living in a third world country, isn't it? Yes, things like a massage can be very, very inexpensive here and very relaxing. If the masseur, however, says, do you want it soft, medium or hard? Say soft and ramp it up from there. Don't say hard because you're going to get tied in knots. Some of the more vigorous Thai masseurs, 5'2", and they'll bend you in half. My goodness. They're strong, about 50 kilograms wringing wet, and they can just bend you in half. Shirt looks like the Partridge Family bus. It does, doesn't it? Very good. The Partridge Family bus. There's a memory for you. Stephen says, you talk a lot of sense, Tim. Oh, I don't know about that, but I'm just talking anyway. The main thing is, of course, what you've got to say. Craig Jones, after 22 years, I have more freedom here. Here, I suppose, being Thailand, I can always make money. I feel looked after. Fair comment. That's another thing I think that you can spend time investing in investments, or you can spend time investing in community, friendships, networking, relationships. In the long term, my feeling is that you're going to get a lot more out of investing in community than you are investing in money and economies. Yeah, okay, you got to have a certain amount of money to pay the bills and feed yourself and look after yourself, especially if you're living outside your own country. And that's a personal responsibility you have to take. The country that you've moved to is not going to look after you. Having said that, though, after that, I think you're going to get a lot more long-term value of the investment you've put into your community around you, to nurturing friends, volunteering, doing something to look after other people. Even things like having pets, I think makes you a more caring person, because those pets are going to rely on you for their sustenance. Of course, if you've got kids and a wife and other people around you, they also need your care and sustenance. But if you don't have those, having a pet, I think does make you a more empathetic person. Okay, but a large middle class means wealth transfer from the extremely wealthy. Some may call that socialist. Okay, well, yes, I think this word socialism and terms like communism and fascism that came up a lot over the past year are bandied about and not really fully understood. But a large middle class and a smaller wealthy class is much better generally for a country. Spreading the wealth around. And if that is socialism, if free healthcare is socialism, if free dental care is socialism, I'd much rather live in a socialist country where the emphasis is put on the person rather than on how much money they have. I think the responsibility of governments is to collect taxes and spend those taxes in ways that benefit the community. That's the way I see it. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to, I know what they're going to do. They're going to call me woke. But if woke means I'm more caring, and if a woke country is looking after its citizens, then I think that is much more important than supporting the wealthy in the community. Okay, let's just check. I don't want to miss a super chat. I hate Colin. Thank you very much. Not the Colin I know. He wouldn't be putting his hand in his pocket. But Colin's in Australia, I think. So thank you very much, Colin, for your support of the program. And I hate missing super chats. Jailer, thank you very much. You're always here with some support, and I do appreciate your support, not just today, but right throughout the year. I think you've been the number one supporter, so thank you very much. Festive greetings from a very chilly Yorkshire in the UK. Not many people will see tourist areas as third world. Fair comment. Seeing the real living conditions of the average citizen is likely to come to a more empathetic conclusion. Yeah, and I think tourists often they make their judgment just on the little part of whichever city or country that they're visited. And they don't really get out into the rural areas, into the quieter areas, and they don't really see the poverty. Of course, the countries do their best to try and push that aside and keep it away from the tourist buses and where tourists are likely to tramp. Jailer, thank you very much for your support throughout the year. Let's just scroll down. I've also got some comments. We've got Lorraine. Thank you very much, Lorraine, for your support. Lorraine Lambert. There were also plenty of comments that came from people because I put this post up of Mr. Paul Lee yesterday, and I got people to chime in. So here's some of their comments. I'll get to that in just a moment. Flick, flick, flick. So here we go. Here are some of the comments from people. The third world model was a construct of the Cold War, says Ikakao. As an ally of the US, Thailand was considered a first world country. Since the downfall of the Soviet bloc, the terms have changed and bear little resemblance to the original model. I think that's pretty much where we are with our feelings on that matter. Comment, the term first world actually means it's an ally of USA, second world allied to USSR, third world related to all the others. Another one here, just a little side point, I can sit in a bamboo hut in the remote jungles of northern Thailand and enjoy 5G internet. Whereas 10 minutes outside a major Aussie city, the phone's gone dead, tables are turned on the third world perspective. I'm using 5G, 400 baht a month on my phone. So yes, I got my computer tethered to my phone, which is getting the 5G from somewhere up there. I don't know how it all works. It's all amazing to me. And I am about half an hour north of Phuket on a very, very remote beach. By the way, how remote? Let me show you just whilst we're here. This is the shot this morning I did. So this is the beach here at Thai Muang, as it was around about 8 a.m. this morning. Not a breath of air out there in the Andaman Sea, and all that beach got washed away in the middle of the wet season, and a couple of weeks later it all washed back again. It was quite surprising. So a warm, generally windless day here in the Andaman coast. But we're very lucky here. We get an afternoon sea breeze come in just about every day over the next 3 or 4 months. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a quick blow of the nose. Just talk amongst yourselves. Everything's fine. Thank you very much for waiting. Okay, Gary Cross. Tim, you're a legend. Give such good advice, mate. I'm not really giving advice today. I suppose I'm just trying to look at this term that's been bandied around in the past. And a lot of people, I just note in my comments and chats with people over the last 3 or 4 days, talking about Thailand being third world. And it just sort of grates on me when people keep on using this term. Because I live here. And I don't consider in any way Thailand third world anymore. In some ways, in regards to things like happiness, access to free health, access to fresh food, I think it is very developed in those ways. Just my point of view. Stephen HHH Pattaya, in brackets, Canada. Hello, Tim. I had to get 2 stints put in last week. 2 stints? Stents, maybe? It cost me a lot, but I had it done right away, and I'm alive. No price on our life. So I had to change my lifestyle. I think you're talking about stents. Are you in Canada? Are you in Thailand? I don't really know, Stephen, but all we can say is quite a big operation if you're talking about stents put into your heart valves, and best wishes for a full recovery. And thanks for writing to us. Frank in the Philippines, who's given up Thailand and headed to the Philippines. I was surprised to see the overall lack of dental care in the Philippines. So that's interesting, isn't it? Is that one thing that you sort of note different, Thailand to the Philippines, Frank? Thailand has very good dental care for whatever reason. Maybe the Philippines doesn't. So maybe all these Southeast Asian countries, they've all got good things, bad things, things that you sort of look away from, other things that you can focus on that are very obvious. But always happy to hear your comments. Hernia, that's it. Steve had a hernia operation and it cost him 10,000 baht. I'm sure he doesn't mind me telling that story. I often use that as a description of how you can get good, safe, reliable, professional medical care in Thailand for a relatively low cost. And Steve, by the way, has fully recovered. Clean drinking water. Okay. So this is how, what, why, when, where. These are the things that he considers important for a modern civilized country. Clean drinking water, clean air to breathe, modern sewage systems, underground electrics, footpaths, no stray dogs, law-abiding roads, free speech, little things that help with living comfortably. Okay, as you know, we could debate for hours about the free speech issue, and I have done so in the past, and I'm sure I'll do again soon. The reason I keep on looking up and I keep on getting these phone calls and it's very distracting is because, and Daisy's barking, we've got 3 different people arriving today at our beach houses, and we've got people checking out, and I've got airport runs to do. It's just going to be one of those crazy days. So thank you very much. How, what, why, when, and where. The stray dogs is definitely a thing here in Thailand. I've got one of them living in our house now. Got her when she was a 3-month-old pup, and she's now a very loved addition to the family. So stray dogs, of course, there is a reason why they are stray dogs, and that all sort of relates back to culture, Buddhism, but that's another topic for another day. But thank you very much for your comment. Ty Draper, I found it cheaper to not have health insurance in the US, which was $400 a month, says Ty. If you go to have a doctor visit, it's cheaper if you don't have insurance. I don't understand much about United States insurance, so I can't really comment. Besides, the insurance companies deny coverage. Clearly a hot topic at the moment in the United States, and hopefully citizens there can work out that particular matter. I can't comment on it. Sarah J. Good morning, Tim. I like your shirts. Thank you very much. This one's from Temu, by the way. Temu.com. I've got 2 or 3 deliveries, not shirts, but of other things from Temu today. Always looking out for them. I'm from a very first world country. Massages are even more needed here. Second, third world countries came about World Bank. So thank you very much for that, Sarah. I'm not sure where you're from, but thank you very much. Mark Holland, some home comforts you have to sacrifice for sure. Work-life balance in Asia is much better. Most who criticise have little or no first-hand experience. That tends to be my understanding. You know, one thing I really enjoy when I've got people coming to visit our beach houses from, say, places like Australia, New Zealand, UK, Europe, United States, and they've never been to Thailand before, and they come through customs and the airport, and we drive out onto the main road, and it's a 4-lane highway all the way from the airport up to the beach here. And they sort of go, oh, wow, the roads are very good. I go, yeah, amazing, isn't it? And they sort of have this discovery over the next 2 or 3 weeks or however long they're here of, oh, wow, it's not quite what I thought it was. And I love seeing people slowly just change their opinion of Thailand if they've never been here before. Of course, they're probably in most cases seeing all the good things about Thailand rather than some of the I was going to say outback, but that would be a very Australian thing to say, but some of the more rural areas in Thailand. Mark Goldman, I'm coming over in 10 days on a 6-month tourist visa. Okay, hoping to get my retirement visa while in country. I've been to Thailand 7 times and love the place. I only took 1 visit to know this too. Mark, thank you very much and good luck getting an O. Yes, if you're here in Thailand on a tourist visa, you'll be applying for an O visa. If you're applying for a retirement visa, as that's the nickname, from outside of Thailand, it's an OA visa. My firm recommendation is if you are going to get a retirement visa, come to Thailand and apply for it here. I would further recommend the first time you get it, do it through an agent. You'll pay a little bit more, but it'll smooth over a lot of wrinkles. Of course, you can do it by yourself, but I generally recommend for most people that the first time when you get a retirement visa, use an agent, then you can you do it by yourself as far as the annual renewal is concerned. That's just my recommendation. Good luck to you, Mark. Dental care in the Philippines, so a bit more information from Frank, costs more except extractions. In Thailand, it's free. Public hospital, yes, you need to wait a long time, but available for everyone. Okay, hey Tim, says MLGNE. Oh, I have no idea what that is. We will go camping today. Weather is 15 degrees. I don't know where you're from. Just going back here. Oh, Brett Border. Hi, Brett, from Canada. And Brett is not only saying hello to me, but he's saying Merry Christmas to all. Thank you, Brett, for your support of the program over the year. It's been much appreciated and great to have you with us again. So thank you for your generosity again today, all the way from Canada. Stu Lavelle, or Lovell. So should birds with no ambition receive the same as someone who studied for years to become successful? Bums with no ambition receive the same as someone who studied for years to become successful. Okay, so we're sort of getting into this socialism thing. Should bums with no ambition receive the same? They should receive the same opportunity as the people who have studied for years. If we're talking about social welfare, I think a country needs to look after its citizens. You can't just leave people on the street. You need to provide some sort of sustenance and further opportunity for them. But it's not really the sort of the central part of the topic today. So Stu, please send me an email or something. drive up to Thai Muang. I'm happy to sit down and have a coffee with you and discuss. I think you're sort of really using very, very polarized situations there. I think also if you have a talk to people who've studied over the past 20 years, maybe gone to university and racked up quite a sizable amount of debt to their particular government, then you might wonder about their opportunities in the future, considering the amount of debt they're in before they even start working. But anyway, it's quite a big topic, Stu. Thank you very much for your comment. Mark Holland says the West is falling and the East is rising. Some just can't accept it. F asterisk asterisk K them. Their loss. All spot on points, Tim. So Stu says yes, he's talking about his comment relates specifically to socialism. I'm just not going to get dragged into that. John Kelly, hello from Peterborough in Canada. Looking forward to visiting Thailand again in the new year. I think you got direct flights. One of our guests took the direct flights this week from Vancouver into Bangkok. That's a long flight. That's a long time with your ass sitting on one of those tiny seats. Anyway, there is a direct flight from North America to Thailand through Vancouver, I believe. Checking out places to retire. Is there many places to rent long-term in the area where you live? Not really. There are a few. But here or anywhere else in Thailand, the very, very, very best thing you can do is come and spend a week. A week here, a week there. Don't book anything before you come to Thailand. Don't jump on the internet in Peterborough and go, oh, that looks like a nice unit, I'll book that. I mean, book something for the first couple of weeks wherever you arrive. But beyond that, just, drive around, speak to people, get into a little bit of a network, find a forum you can trust, but don't book anything whilst you're in Peterborough beyond the first week or so. And look around. And look around beyond Phuket, Pattaya, Chiang Mai, Hua Hin, Bangkok. There's a lot more Thailand to see. And I was very, very lucky. Thank you to Steve Ross to find this place. And I've now sort of moved here, and this is where I've got my business and my life. And I'm very, very lucky to have found this place. I found my Turtle Beach, if you like, and I'm very happy here. But I promise you, it's not for everybody. A lot of people are going to find this far, 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 far too quiet. But I'm lucky that I'm busy, and so I've got plenty of things to do. You never get bored. Downtown east side of Vancouver is below third world. It's apocalyptic, says Fun-Sized Media. Phil L., I've been living in Thailand for 2 years now. I've gone to the hospital for checkups and for a couple of illnesses. The affordability and quality of healthcare are much better than the US, says Phil L. Nonghua So says colonoscopy free in Australia. Yeah, in Australia we get free, we call it free healthcare. We pay for it with our taxes, but the more we earn, the more taxes we pay. So wealthier people are paying more for their free healthcare than poor people. But if you are not working, you also get free medical care in Australia, as you do here in Thailand. I'm just going to go through some more of the comments that we got in before today's program. Ignorant post from the Instagram, says some random LNDVL. Tim Random says, why entertain anything that's confrontational, one direction or the other? Does it serve any meaningful purposes? Is it energy well spent? No, it's not. It's just contribute to make the world dumber. I'm not here to cause confrontation with this discussion. It's merely a discussion. We're not coming to any a final answer. I don't have an agenda. I'm not pushing an agenda. I'm very happy for people to come up with any final results or decisions from this discussion, but we're not here to to push any particular agenda. We certainly are not trying to be confrontational. And in the country as a whole, there are plenty of poor people, don't be mistaken. However, many developing countries also got rich parts in the country. I'm also a Thai local myself. Ken says, I think the common mindset from these so-called first world countries has been that they are the best countries, and this is why they claim the majority of visa-frees throughout the world. But now that other countries, especially in Asia, have developed beyond the West seem to think they can hold on to their status. Is the West losing its position in the world as they suffer economic, social instability? I suppose that is, and I'm sorry I don't have the rest of that. Boy Fan says, Lee is a day late and $1 short, referring to the Instagrammer whose post ignited this particular conversation. And another one, did he ever use a train outside Bangkok? Yes, when it comes to transportation, Thailand's trains, once you do get out of Bangkok, are not necessarily the best. They've certainly got plenty of soul, plenty of personality, but they're also pretty slow. If anybody's interested in trains in Thailand, by the way, Richard Barrow has got a very good Facebook page, and he does focus a lot on train journeys around Thailand. Now, Thailand is putting in some very fast trains. At the moment, they're putting in the route between Bangkok and Nakhon Ratchasima, and then they're going to extend that up to the Lao border. Eventually, they're going to try and have a very fast train all the way from the Lao border, Nong Khai, down through Bangkok, and then down south to the border with Malaysia. That's the plan, but I think that's a decade away. I'm not planning on doing a very fast train journey in Thailand anytime soon. Anyway, three more comments. It's difficult to do this program. I'm reading the comments, trying to think of an answer, whilst also answering other people's comments. And I do it because it's difficult. So I'm going to do three more comments and then say goodbye. So I'll scroll right down to the end, see what we can find. Blah, blah, blah says, I have frequently heard comments that the US power grid is third world standard. In other words, no real development in decades. The power grid. Okay, I don't know if there's a particular problem with the US power grid. I haven't really heard any particular problems. Ty Draper, Wu-Tang. Then obviously you don't live in Minneapolis. Okay. The conversation's going on within the comments section. I sort of missed the context sometime. Jack Fletcher says, my only complaint is in dealing with the national immigration system in Thailand, I think you're referring to. They demand that I have my US pensions deposited into Thai banks. Oh, okay, so you want to just withdraw your pension from an ATM, but from your American bank account? I think a lot of people still do that. Go to a different immigration office or get an agent. They'll sort it out for you, okay? This is the thing about immigration in Thailand, and one of the things that people might say, oh, that's so third world. Different immigration officers, different immigration officers on different days may come up with different answers to the very same questions. So it can be a bit of a moving target and something you just need to get used to here in Thailand. My relationship with the immigration office these days is purely through an agent, including my 90-day reporting. I don't have any great hassle with the immigration departments. I just don't have the time or the mind space to go and deal with all that. So I let an agent who's much better at it and who talks to the same immigration officers every day to do that for me. Frank in the Philippines is not called corruption in Thailand, but normal way to do business. Oh, okay. People may be making comments that I've missed about the word corruption. Yes, people talk about corruption in Thailand. Most Thai people call it business. Business done in a different way. And just because it's done in a different way doesn't necessarily mean it's better or worse. It's just different. And MLG Neo, again, I don't know where you're from, but talking about the very fast train, he's, I think, making a bit of a political comment, and he's describing it as the China Railway extension. By the way, China is not paying for the very fast train here in Thailand. Thailand is using some of the infrastructure that it's purchasing from China, but it's actually paying for the very fast train and the railways from Thai taxpayers' money. KJ, if ASEAN ever gets a high-speed rail plan going, Thailand is well placed to be the hub for ASEAN. I think in the next couple of weeks, I think, who's the ASEAN chair for next year? I think it's Malaysia. I can't remember. I think it's been Laos or Brunei. Oh, I can't remember. Either the chair changes for ASEAN every year. The chairmanship. It's shared among the 10 countries. A lot of focus at the moment with ASEAN, even though they're a trading bloc, to try and do something about Myanmar. I mean, I am very interlinked with Myanmar. One, partner. Two, I'm only just a couple of 100 kilometres away from Myanmar. And the place is a basket case. And it is an existential problem for the region, especially for Thailand. And of course, that's something we cover more in our news programs. Jack Fletcher says, my immigration agent wants 49,000 baht now. 49,000 baht for what? For getting a visa? For a renewal? For a renewal, that's outrageous. For getting a visa, depending on your particular situation, everybody has a different situation that may or may not be reasonable, I don't know. AI Bing says the novel 1984 is banned in Thailand. Well, I could go down to, I could jump on Lazada and buy it. I can tell you that. I think I've seen 1984 in the bookstores here. I have to say, I mean, I get what the novel's about, but I didn't really find it particularly good reading. Anyway, there you go. Have a great weekend, y'all. Jack Fletcher, it is that Thai Visa Centre. Okay, I don't want to talk about agents and naming any particular agents. And a final comment from XSR Forever. Thank you for all your work, Tim. That's much appreciated. The term third world country is still necessary to keep ignorant Westerners away from Thailand. Ha ha ha. Greetings from Hua Hin. Everybody, thank you for dropping in today. If you only drop in on our Saturday programs, may I extend to you a very Merry Christmas and holiday season. No matter what you're doing, I hope you get through it. You have a few laughs, you have a little bit of roast turkey or whatever you like eating for Christmas, and you come out of the other end at New Year in one piece. For everybody else, we will be doing our usual program every single day right throughout Christmas and New Year. There's no break here. There's obviously going to be plenty of things happening, and we want to make sure we get that information to you as best we can. So thank you all very much for your support during the year. For all those people that have sent super chats, I mean, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I really do appreciate it. I'm certainly not rich, but yeah, it just makes things just a little bit more comfortable, and it allows me to, to buy iPads and new microphones and, of course, the occasional shirt. So it is appreciated. Best wishes, everybody. We're not doing anything tomorrow unless there's any news I need to break, and if there is, I always do a breaking news story video. Otherwise, we're back on Monday with more news about Thailand with our 10-minute TNT program. Have a great rest of the weekend, and thank you very much for dropping in today.